Presented by That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, this is Shonen Jumping the Gun, the show where we set our sights on the first chapter of a manga and decide if it's a misfire or a bullseye.
Let's see how many rounds are in this magazine.
On today's episode, Until I Love Myself, the journey of a non-binary manga artist. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to our second special Shonen Jumping the Gun Pride Month episode. I'm Kermit the Grog, here with my lovely, lovely friend, Isekai Sensei Sama Brad. Brad, how you doing?
What's up? I'm doing good.
What's up? And today we are covering, for our second Shonen Jumping Gun Pride special edition, we are covering Until I Love Myself, the journey of a non-binary manga artist by Poppy Pesuyama, which I normally don't do the thing, but I have the physical copy of this in front of me that I bought at the bookstore, and we all know how much I don't like buying books. I hate having physical media in my home more than I like, and you know what? I liked these enough that I kept them, so...
Well, I'm 100% certain that that's a pseudonym.
Yeah.
However, because most mangaka use pseudonyms, specifically for them, I think this is their second pseudonym, because based on the first story, I tried to look some stuff up.
Oh, you dug. Let's get through the summary first.
Okay. But suffice to say,
we can get into that.
They only have one other thing under this name.
Okay, because I didn't dig. Also, admittedly, bearing the lead a little bit, which we used to try not to do in the main episodes, but these, were special episodes. There are 2 volumes of this, so I guess about, 16 to 20 chapters? It's like 8 chapters per book?
Probably.
Give or take? So, yeah. So this is 2 volumes and done. At time of recording, the second volume dropped, earlier this year in earlier this year in 2024. So this is a fairly recent series.
Yeah.
We're
I'm
used
not
to series
sure
that don't have an end, or they haven't, it's a story that can essentially go on forever. And this is our first autobiographical, at least this as much as we're aware. Who knows? Golf, Greens, MMA. I'm trying to think of a manga we covered that'd be really silly if it was an autobiography.
I mean, most of the manga that I read are autobiographical.
Super Psychic Policeman Shoujo. Someday you'll get that episode. Not yet. Pride Month says you gotta wait longer for Super Psychic Policeman Shoujo.
That's probably July.
He's the new joke. Dear Nemesis gonna be canceled before that episode comes out.
I hope so.
I think we should just
spoilers.
Sit on it. Sit on it until that whole run. What a case of the...
I said Gil was over before.
Yeah, but this is one where we recorded it really early. I'm getting distracted.
Anyway.
I'm getting distracted because as much as I love this... hi, everybody. Serious Kermit here now. As much as I love it Until I Love Myself, there are some heavy topics we're going to get into already in Chapter 1.
I mean, I would say this first part.
Yes, we are covering the first
just
2 chapters just because Chapter 1, because this isn't in a magazine, Chapter 1 is quote-unquote normal size, and even then it's kind of short. And it's 2 of 3 parts of an arc, I guess, of a story they're telling. So yeah, I guess, what is this? Sexual harassment warning?
Yeah.
I don't remember 100% because I know you read to Chapter 3.
So
if we get into full-on sexual assault territory,
no.
And depending on your definitions of things,
I would say that, as much as I am allowed to say, I don't think this is sexual assault.
This is sexual harassment. Warning for gender dysphoria. Warning for just, I guess, bullying.
I guess you could,
to an extent.
Yeah. There's various triggers. And if you have experience with these kind of things, it could definitely be triggering.
Yes.
Spoiler alert, I felt a lot of this, and I have not experienced this stuff.
Yep.
So
Yep.
just be forewarned.
So also with this, because it is autobiographical, as you know, normally I try to sit down and I write a summary, and usually they're garbage because I read them and then I go, what was this? Isn't even a sentence. And just every time I tried to sit down and write this summary, it felt too impersonal to the story that was going on. So we're trying something kind of new as a one-off that, like, we're going to talk through the chapters. I don't think it will take that long, and we're going to kind of summarize it through that and talk about it as we're going, because that felt the best way to emotionally capture what's going on.
But you know what? This is our podcast, so if it takes a while, whatever.
It is. So we start off, and Poppy is writing an email to an old, I guess, like, artist coworker who they refer to as Manga Artist X.
Yeah, they were
anonymity, which I'm excited to know what information you know later.
They were the assistant to this person.
Correct.
And I go ahead and talk about.
I want to finish this before we get into your dirt digging, because we don't leave this territory.
Specifically, this intro part. So do the intro part, and then I'll say.
So their framing device for it is that they were lent a copy of, was it Iron Man or Iron Man 3? It is Iron Man. A DVD that they never watched. And, like, that's the tip of the spear of, like, hey, here's the reason I'm opening the door. But also this is me going, like, hey, like, did you mean, like, how are you now? Did you mean to do all the things to me that you did, essentially? Yeah. I'm trying to get the particulars of it. So there's, like, a little conversation of, like, oh, yeah, it's been a long time. How are you? You can keep it. I don't even have a means of watching DVDs anymore. And, like, at one point, even before Poppy gets to the main thing, he says, I'm so sorry I was insensitive about everything. Are you still drawing manga? And it's just like, they're getting ready to confront somebody who, like, messed them up psychologically in a way that they probably didn't even fully comprehend.
Yeah.
And already he starts with an apology, and it's just like, oh, man, even just thinking about this, the tension is rising in my stomach.
Well, so here's the thing. They go back and forth through text messages for a little bit.
Yeah.
Until Poppy finally is like, hey, you need to know that you did a lot of bad stuff to me, and it hurt me a lot.
Your behavior back then really hurt me. And just, like, the overcoming of that hill to be able to say that.
Now, this was just, like, the first 2 or 3 pages. And honestly, and this is sort of a warning to everybody who's going to be reading this, that text message conversation does not even come close to showing you what is about to go down as we go back.
But it's so, it's literally real. It's really text messages.
I was really taken aback.
Yes. Also, if not stated, Poppy is, again, non-binary, X-gender, no gender, however Japan says it. It's always interesting to see how each book decides how they want to localize it, if they want to keep the way Japan says it, or if they want to localize it to the way that we in the West say it. I believe moving from, like, trans femme towards trans masc, I would say, but not literally a man.
Yeah.
At least that was my understanding and memory of reading it. Which is literally what the manga is describing at the spot that I'm at now. So they had a describable as, like, a goth phase that they were in at the time, which I think was their way of trying to explore more masculine looks without really knowing what to do, which, you know, that happens for a lot of us, where you're just like, I don't want to be here, and I want to go over there, but I can't just go there. I also don't know how to go there, so you just kind of, you try things out. You work through stuff.
Dance around it.
Yes. You wobble your way over. You take a circuitous route sometimes. So, as we stated, Poppy is an assistant. They do art. They're an assistant on this manga. They're new coming into it, I guess, in their early 20s. Manga artist X it says is in his mid-30s. I think got connected through, like, an editor or an agent or something. Yep. It's just like, I don't think about that manga artists then need to become editors for other people or, like, background assistants, because it's just like, well, you need to keep making, you know, you're an artist and you still need to make, you know, do work, essentially.
Yep.
So sometimes when you're not doing your big thing, that you're doing that for other people. But instantly, and, like, in the context of it, I can already feel it, but like on its own, this feels so small when I try to read it out loud, even though I know in my heart that it's not. Is that they come in and they go, they announce their name. Can you please call me this? Yes, you can call me Pesuyama. And then instantly goes, Poppy-chan it is. And then instantly mentions like an idol. It's like, oh, there's an idol with that name. You can be the same, right? And just instantly that like, bam. And it's like I said, in a big picture where you're not aware of this stuff, like, I don't know. I'm somebody who thinks names are important. I don't unless like you have a close enough relationship, I'm not going to call somebody a name they don't like. Mm-hmm. And I think especially when it's like Poppy-chan is so...
Well, I hope if you have a close relationship, you're not going to call them a name they don't like.
Well, I mean, like in a I know I have examples of it, but like an endearing like a pet name or a nickname.
Right. Yeah.
And not like literally like a name.
Sure.
But yeah, and it's like already like they're trying to get away from Femi stuff instantly just to be so... But also, like, they're young, they are nervous, they are anxious, like, they're not...
And
at the time that they go, hi, please call me this, they instantly have that disrespected, but also it's like, they need this job to survive.
The manga does do a very good job of sort of portraying, like, there's a reason that they don't just go, hey, don't call me that, I just told you. Like, they are very much like, I have to... just let all this go because I need this job.
I'm fresh out of school, and this is just what this is, and I need to deal with it.
Right. As people like us might be in a situation like that, and someone would confront us in that way, and we would say, hey, no, don't do that. That's not cool. We're not going to put up with that. They're not in a situation to do that. For various circumstances.
Yeah, because then also it's like, well, you left, and there's a sort of like blackball. Like, well, if you're just going to duck out that easily, like, why would anybody else hire you? And then already manga artist X is like, haha, we tell a bunch of dirty jokes here. Get used to it. And just like this constant, like when I think me from like 5 to 10 years ago wouldn't be as like getting my blood heated as much because these are all like signs of worse things and just like not treating people with respect. Of the line that's catching me now. Thinking back, everything X said was a show of force or an implied threat. It was more than enough to make a newbie writer a newbie wither. The assistant before you said I'm going to the bathroom one day and never came back. Of course I know you're not that irresponsible, Poppy-chan. So, you're still young, Poppy-chan. Got a boyfriend? Are you a virgin? Haha, just kidding. Just like that kind of behavior now of like the going too far and then going, I was telling a joke. Like, I hate that. And you can see like Poppy is not happy about this. And when they finally stand up for themselves, it does not work. And if anything, it makes it worse.
Yeah.
And it's just like, come on. I'm sorry, I'm paging forward.
Yeah, this is basically how it goes for the rest of this time, is that this manga artist X is just doing whatever they want under the guise of just fooling around. Hey, we're having fun, but it is covert bullying, bordering on sexual harassment, and then turning into actual sexual harassment.
Yeah. So with that thing of Poppy standing up for themselves, actively says it's like, hi, I'm dealing with gender stuff. I'm not interested in really sexual stuff. Like actively communicates, hey, this is my situation. Could you stop?
Yeah.
And I'm going to read these lines because this captures more of this energy. But it seemed like X felt that there was something embarrassing about me coming out, or like he even felt threatened. He suddenly got all flustered and started talking a mile a minute. It seemed to feel like it was his duty to correct my mistaken, embarrassing view of my own gender. You're definitely a girl, Poppy-chan, so you don't have to worry, you lost little lamb. He started slipping in little comments all the time. You're a girl, so you have nice skin, huh, Poppy-chan? Poppy-chan, as a girl, what do you think about this character? You don't like video games? That's super girly. And it's just like... It's so... Like, I say this all the time. It's really easy to respect people. You just go, hi, what would you like to be called? How would you like to be treated? And then they go, like this, and you go, okay, and then you do that. Like, it's like, this is such a choice. Like, he's going out of his way to mess with them for whatever reason.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and say this now. We're going to have a little bit of a deeper conversation about X.
Yeah.
That's going to be in the bonus episode.
It's going to be, well, we're already for certain for that?
That's the thing I was telling you about.
Okay, I had a feeling.
I am not going to sit here and try and defend any of this at all. I do have some things to say about it that I don't think are appropriate for this episode.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you're interested in that, check out the bonus episode on Patreon. I apologize to everybody who might have been interested in that conversation. Obviously, I'm an ally. It's not going to be bad, but we are focused now on Poppy's journey. So
correct. So like things aren't going great, and he is seemingly like ramping up the pressure, and then from some happening where Poppy attempts to like assert themselves as like, I'm not just this pure maiden, whatever. Like here's like a cool radio thing I listen to. X completely shifts his tack. It's like, oh, you're not a pure-hearted maiden, you're a nympho. And then just goes down that route. So Poppy goes, I guess Pesiyame I should be doing. What am I doing? Just goes to like, I'm just going to not react. Because every time I've tried to stand up for myself, it's just made the situation worse. But like, not doing anything also sucks. Because you just kind of have to weather the storm.
Yeah.
And then that escalates more towards the way that Pesiyama describes it, of just like, well, non-reacting means you're not defensible, which means I can escalate my messing with you. And X starts invading her personal space more. There's a story told where he just gets up and just sits on Poppy's lap. And he's just sort of laughing to himself smugly about this, is like, haha, look at me, kind of overpowering you.
Which is like, there's no possible reason for this.
Correct.
At all.
And nobody does anything about it, because there are other assistants and people working there in the room.
2 other people.
I think his wife and child are literally downstairs.
Oh, maybe.
Because I think it's his house.
I think I missed that
and
part.
they're just upstairs in like the office.
It is his house. And they all stay there most of the time.
Yes, correct.
Which is worse.
Yeah. I guess we'll pull another quote in here describing this situation. The rowdy kid in class was stomping bugs, and everyone was just watching. This is a bug trying its hardest. And of course, X also learned that this was all a bug was capable of. So this continues escalating with just more, unwanted touch. I want to say through all of this dark material, because normally I don't like Doom Spiral manga, the art style is like, not cutesy, but it is like, I know, like I'm in the middle of this and trying to make this like cartoony.
Yeah.
But it captures emotions well, because I'm seeing there's the Pesiyama drawing their like internal feeling of being unwantedly touched by this person that she despises and feels very unsafe around. Like, I'm just looking at this now, but like, I don't think it ever gets too lost in depression, even if there's some dark stuff in it.
I mean,
Pesiyama's dealing with some stuff.
It's pretty far down there.
Yeah. I don't know if the art style just does a lot of heavy lifting for me to like be able to keep trucking through it.
I actually thought it was interesting because when you first look at it, you're like, oh, it's cartoony and bubbly and haha.
Yeah.
But then like
the realest shit ever pops off.
Does a really good job of conveying the dark, awful things that they're feeling.
Yeah. So we're closer to the thing you're talking about, because I think you read it's been a while since I've read this, and I only reread the first 2. So as we said, sometimes they stay over because there's deadlines and whatnot, and there's sleeping areas. And Pesiyama is using the shower on the first floor and is in the changing room, and here comes manga artist X as he attempts to get in while they are naked in the bathroom.
It wasn't clear if he ever actually tried to come in to the shower. But Pesiyama was definitely feeling like that was
incredibly vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah.
So this was something I want to say to the listeners. When you read this, keep in mind what happened to me, Kermit said, hey, we're going to do the first 2 chapters. And I said, okay. And I opened it and I started reading. And then I got to a part and it said, end of chapter 3. And I went, oh.
Yeah. I mean, these are special episodes. We're breaking all the rules for this.
The point being is that the first 3 chapters feels like a thing.
Correct.
Which is this story.
Yes.
And then there's other chapters after that.
There are other chapters that are other stories. There's chapters that follow up on this story.
To the point that I didn't even notice that chapter 1 ended and chapter 2 ended.
Yeah. So nothing comes of the shower thing, but it's that feeling of that incredible danger and vulnerability that ends up being nothing. And then we get to, I don't know if this is the one that you've been dreading, but as stated, they stay over sometimes, and Pasuyama is sleeping, and manga artist X comes in and just is sitting in the bed with them.
Lays down next to them. Now, it's important to note that Japanese sleeping arrangements, traditional sleeping arrangements, they will sleep in a room with the straw. They're called tatami mats. And they use futons. And when they say futons, they don't mean like a pull-out bed like that is sometimes a couch, like a lot of us Americans will think of. But literally like a rolled-up mattress comforter kind of thing that they then roll out onto the floor and then put covers and use a pillow.
Like a sleeping bag, kind of, sort of.
So in this situation, Pasuyama is in one futon that's like closest to the window, the far side of the room. And there's another futon next to them. And there might be one or more other in the room. However, X comes in and gets into the futon that's next to them. So not in the same one, but next to them. Which
in his
doesn't
own home.
make it better.
No, he has a bed with his wife.
Yeah, maybe.
I swear they're in that house. It's from my memory of it.
I don't remember wife and kids, but
I swear at one point they mentioned that. I could be misremembering or mixing stories up, or maybe that's something I know from later on.
Okay.
But yeah, like, Pasuyama flees before anything happens, but it's just that instant, like, spirit leaving body panic.
Had to have a spiritual come to Jesus moment to go, hey, you're in danger. You should leave.
Your spirit is leaving your body. It needs to get back in it so it can get out.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to read these panels. One night, while we were working late, X suddenly shouted, "Poppy-chan, I want to make you drink my semen." My heart felt unbearably crushed in that moment. There were 2 male assistants in the room, but X didn't seem to care. My dignity as a human being was gone. First, I laughed powerlessly. The veteran XX-san laughed too. But then, the new assistant, K-san, stands up for Pasuyama. And that's when we get into Chapter 3, which, even though you read that, unless there was something you really specifically wanted to cover in there that we didn't get to, I don't know if it was the bed or the shower thing.
Maybe the bed was later on.
Yeah.
We'll put it this way.
I mean, read it.
Those first 3 chapters are sort of an encapsulation of this time that they had with this
working as an assistant under this manga artist X.
And while they escaped at the end, they had a lot of trouble getting to that, and it did a ton of psychological damage to them.
Yes. You could, if I hadn't already known from the title and having already read this could be something that didn't even involve gender at all.
Yeah.
Well, not at all, but not in like a
I mean, it could literally
non-binary manner.
And that's so. In the beginning, I said I don't think there was any full-on sexual assault.
No.
However, given what does happen, if someone were to tell me that happened to them and they were sexually assaulted, I would not disagree with them. Like, as a personal experience that someone has, they could see that as sexual assault, and I wouldn't argue that at all.
Yeah. The trauma is there. When you're already in that vulnerable state of trying to figure your gender stuff out, when it doesn't match what you were born with or what society dictates for you, like, you're already in a more vulnerable state and have it so specifically targeted.
And that's the thing is,
so
you know,
crassly.
this would have been horrible for a woman to experience.
Yes.
Just in and of itself. It was definitely sexual harassment. To add on to that, do we still say gender dysphoria?
I think we still say that's as far as I know.
I think
I know this is the fun part we were saying the other one about.
I think they're
terminology for
experiencing gender dysphoria as they're on their journey.
You get future vision as more of the chapters will deal with more of Pasuyama's actual like gender
Right. But
journey and ponderings and figuring stuff out.
On top of the sexual harassment, the fact that you are being sexually harassed as a woman, but that is not what you see yourself as, it sort of compounds it.
Yes. Because it's that part I read. It's like it's trying to push you back into that box. You were like, I don't belong here. This isn't me.
Yeah.
And other people going, like I said, oh, you silly little lamb. What are you doing? You've left the field. You belong in the box. And it's definitely something with this of like reading it and not expecting. I mean, it's like I'm expecting to deal with gender stuff and not like, trauma of that flavor. But it definitely fits together. And trauma can make it harder to process the other stuff.
Honestly, with a lot of the LGBTQ plus media that I consume, I might be correct to say we consume in certain cases, it almost always centers solely around that person's own identity and questioning and sometimes sexuality and all that.
Yeah.
Their identity. This takes it into a more dangerous realm that honestly I haven't really experienced before.
Have you, I mean, I don't think either of us have read, like, this is autobiographical.
Yeah.
It's like, this is stuff that happens, so things that can seem small in, like, a normal manga story context are huge because they are real and they're infinitely grounded, not because they're realistic, but because they are real and they happened.
Yeah. And this is something that I know that people who are going through these things, they experience this stuff. But it's generally not something that we read about in stories. So, like for me, it was such a departure from the normal stuff that we consume.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's different from the normal stuff that I consume day to day, but like specifically these sort of drama, slice of life things that it was really, I mean, it hurt me.
It'll do that.
When I put this down after finishing the third chapter, I sat there for a while and just was like, I don't know what to do with this. We had discussed the how we were going to be recording stuff today, and one of the things that we were recording is a fun thing,
Very silly,
and I was sitting there
silly
because I read it earlier today, and I was sitting there going, I don't know if I can do that. I was emotionally affected by this.
You especially don't read very emotionally challenging work, which is not a bad thing. It's just how you operate.
Not negatively emotionally challenging. There's a bunch of stuff that I read that gets me emotionally in terms of like romance and stuff like that.
No, not that you don't feel anything, but like that's why I specifically use the word challenging, which isn't bad. Reading it, like this is your hobby. You do it for fun. We can't, as much as I enjoyed my time with Until I Love Myself, I can't read stuff like that all the time.
Right.
I'd cry and break and die. Like, we don't have a resistance level to this stuff as much as maybe some other people do, which, kudos to them. But, like, akin to, because I'm planning on releasing this one after Double House. So, like, this is manga that is important. Even more so because this is somebody's actual story.
Yeah.
I think conveyed in a way that is very, like, obvious, like I said, you were saying, it affected you.
Yeah.
You emotionally felt things. Like, you have not been... Maybe in some other way you've been it, but like you have not been in Pasuyama's position. Admittedly, neither have I entirely.
I can say 100%. nothing that they experienced, that they described in those 3 chapters, is something that I have even ever come close to. Except there is a little bit to unpack there. That's in the bonus episode, unfortunately.
Okay.
Sorry. But yeah, I mean, it really, more so, I think, than anything that I've read in maybe ever, but certainly in the past couple of years, this hit me so hard. They did, honestly, too good of a job of conveying their emotional state and the spiral that they were in. And it just poked me in that spot that said, like, you need to help this person. They need support. I wish I could go back in time and fly to Japan and go to this place and go, hey, you're coming with me. Let's get out of here.
You can have all these characters in manga that you want to protect, but none of them, at the end of the day, none of them are real.
There's also, there's a little bit to this because, so they specifically talk about the time frame that this happened in. And it was in 2013 in August. And in July of 2013, my 2-month-old son was going through open heart surgery. And so there's obviously a connection there in terms of like a small thing that needs protection, that needs your help.
Oh.
But it's also like a tumultuous time.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think there's just this culmination of things. I'm also someone who is very affected by seeing, sexual assault stuff and those kind of things. So, I mean, honestly, this was just like a perfect storm of all this stuff laying on top of each other. And it was a lot. It's a lot. Like reading back over it, both nothing happens and everything happens. Yeah.
Like, I know when I first read it, and like I said, I'm kind of paging through it now because it's just like, there is no actual sexual assault. Nothing like truly, but it's just like, I've been in adjacent situations. I've heard people tell similar stories. It's like all those feelings like creep into you, and it's just this like drowning dread.
Well, and as a person is experiencing sexual harassment, there's always that voice that's telling them that at the drop of a pin, this can turn into assault.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, a victim of that doesn't get to differentiate between harassment versus assault. It's all part of the spectrum.
Yeah.
We can sit here and say, well, it didn't cross this line, so it's not. But like for them, it could have very
everything
easily.
else combined with that touch on the back. Like, I wish I could beam into your brain the panel on how they drew it for how they were feeling in that moment. And it's like just the entirety of the skin on your body crawling all at once in just panic and disgust all at once, when it's like, please do not do this to me. And I come back to my old thing of like, it's really easy to respect people. You just do what they ask and don't do the things they actively don't like.
Yeah.
It's really easy. And to make a choice to mess with somebody just because you can is an intense level of disgusting to me.
Yeah.
So yes, that's been.
Yeah, I don't think there's a really.
There's no
good
rate.
way
I'm
to
happy
rate.
we already coined important from Double House because, like, I guess the realest question. Obviously, I already read it. I own both volumes. I will continue to own both volumes until I stop owning books entirely. This is one that I wanted to keep. I felt it was important. I'm sure I will go back to it from time to time every couple of years. And in an emotional question that you are fully free to say no to without any sort of judgment, Brad, would you keep reading this?
It is a difficult question.
You are so allowed to say no. I'm pulling you off of this imagined hook
Here's the thing.
if you don't want to do that damage to yourself.
I want to.
Okay.
I want to read it. I think I need to be careful.
Yeah, this is not a read all of this in one sitting.
And
no.
I'm gonna I was not prepared for this.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that there were touchy subjects going into it. I didn't know how heavy it was.
And it just starts with such a haymaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will lend you the book back, and I will give you book 2, but only once you return book 1, so you don't to actively limit you, to slow you down. If memory serves, not of all it is as dark and heavy, it still remains fairly heavy of somebody processing the trauma of that, let alone their own gender stuff at the same time, and how that comes together. And also, literally, part of this manga is about how this manga got written. And, I don't know. I found Pasayama to be a very compelling person to follow their story.
Yeah.
I feel like in my vein of not liking that other one that I got, which, they're probably a fine human. Because this one just felt so much like these are the weights that I carry, and not like my glasses make my face look more masculine. And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. I understand you're dealing with that, and it's a valid thing to deal with, but Jesus Christ, I just read this other thing that's so much heavier and more real about what people have to deal with. Gosh darn it, I don't need 4 comas about wearing glasses. Sorry. We're getting intense. Where do we go, Brandon?
I mean,
Pride Month's supposed to be joyful, but I think also Pride Month is about understanding people's journeys.
Yeah.
And in the way that any themed month is about understanding people's journeys.
I think that's a really important point as a juxtaposition between you and I. Also a juxtaposition with our listeners, those of whom who are on journeys, those of whom that have finished their journeys, those who decided they didn't want to go on a journey even.
No, they didn't need one. They thought we didn't need one. Never even considered it was a thing that you could do, but to have that understanding.
There is a wide range of experiences. We have a small dichotomy of that here. And I think looking at this manga, looking at Double House, as we said, they're important for everybody, not just people who are on the journey, but people who finish their journey, people who haven't decided to start yet. They're all a way to get more of the human experience.
Yeah. This is a human story of an experience that you may or may not have or have run into.
Yeah.
And I think it's good to take on other people who are not like you's experience. And sometimes even just other people who are similar to you. I know in my local scene, recently we got to form up into little groups that it's just here's the trans masks, here's the trans femmes, here's the non-binary. And being able to, as much as we are all of a similar whole, being able to form up with people that have oh, I thought I was the only one that was dealing with this, but this is a consistent between us, was one of the most meaningful and eye-open moments I've had in recent memory. And being able to share those stories and understandings and the way that you kind of meander your way to wherever you're going. And that being really important. I feel I've said it before, I feel maybe not Shonen jumping the gun as much, but of the mainline podcast of this network, I don't like using that word, but it's accurate. I feel like we try to come back to empathy as much as we can. Sometimes we don't. It can be tiring to be empathetic all the time. I'm aware of that. Sometimes it's not fun. Sometimes you want to have that JoJo meme where everybody's curb stomping a shared enemy. That feels great. I'm not going to say that's not great. But I feel like this is one that's a big one for having understanding of people's stories and situations and what they're going for and what they need and what they don't want. And to be able to understand and respect them. So...
Yeah.
I guess with that, we need some sort of an upper to get out of this before we get into the, I can't just say hit me with the plugs. This feels like we need something. Maybe in the future we'll read, a fun queer manga, or I'll just pull one of my queer graphic novels and we'll read one of those. Just something more pleasant. More joyful.
Yeah, I mean, for this particular one, I don't think there's really much we can say to anybody about It's important.
It's important.
You should
Becoming
probably
who
read
you
it
are
if you can, but
can be tough, but it is a joyful experience to follow that. So if you're somebody who's been, wanting to try those things, I know people who are scared to start moving in a direction, even though that's what they want. Like, try it. Like, you're not alone. We all go through stuff. I promise you'll be happier for at least trying, even if it's in a direction you don't want to move in. Heck, I freaking shaved most of my hair last like a year ago just to see how I'd feel about it, and you know what? I hated it. It was a mistake. And now my hair is long again and colorful, and I'm like incredibly happy with it. But I went on that journey, and even if I didn't like where I was for a little while, life didn't end, and I was able to keep going and figure it out. And admittedly, that was something as simple as hair, but that is part of a bigger whole. So I guess to all of this, my uplifting note, despite this traumatic story, and it's part of what Pasuyama goes through, is like, move towards who you want to be. And it can be scary at times, but I promise you will be happier for it.
I shaved all my hair off on Saturday.
I don't even have a witty retort to that right now.
Not the first time I've done that.
So, as is normal to the show, we have to, I know this is Pride Month, but we have to follow decorum at least a little bit. Brad, can you hit me with them plugs?
Yeah, so we just got the normal stuff. We got Sugoi Mart, who's a great partner for us, and you, as a listener, can use the link in the description or use code APR at 15 to get 15% off at checkout. And of course, we want to hear from you. Let us know on social media. All that stuff's up on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com, along with some other stuff. Join us on our Discord if you want to chat about this stuff. Kermit said if you've got, gender question things, you can just directly message. See how that goes. And also check out our Patreon. As I mentioned, there's going to be a bonus episode, so you can check that out. I guess I have to wait to put that out until after this episode comes out, huh?
Yep.
Anyway, all of our tiers get the bonus episodes, so make sure to check that out. There's other perks up there. And of course, our patrons get a shout out. At our Reincarnator tier, we've got Moon and Cake Dwarf. At our Merchant tier, we've got Kill Hour. And last but not least, at our Commoner tier, we've got Rena. So thanks so much to all our patrons.
And with that, this has been Shonen Jumping the Gun. Thank you once again for listening. Make sure you listen to our mainline podcast. That time I got reincarnated in the same world as an anime podcaster. And Brad, Pride Month is just about over. It's time for Wrath Month!
Does it say manga artist?
Yeah. I just read it with my eyeballs.
I'm surprised it doesn't say mangaka.
Because it was localized. And this one has delicious, delicious translator notes at the back. I friggin' lost my train of thought! Oh, Bones grow back. Bones go back. No, they don't. Also known as Pride Revengeance. Pride Revengeance month is July. Okay. Are you ready? Do you have soul left in you for this bonus episode?
So...
Okay. Yep, let's just slide in. What's up?